Today I'm going to talk about why we need to take reviews with a grain of salt. And I have my notes again, so I won't get off track. Well, the first reason is because, believe it or not, the person may not be reviewing your book. They may have confused your book with someone else's. I know of two people that this has happened to. One author had written book 1 in the series, but she had not written book 2. And the person reviewing the book left a 1 or 2 star review, and they were talking about how much they hated the book, they hated the characters, they hated the plot, and they also hated the stuff that happened in book 2 as well. Well, as soon as we saw, we hated, and she hated like what happened in book 2, we realized that she had reviewed the wrong book. We have no idea what book that she was actually talking about, because you can't talk to the reviewer when you're doing this. But that happened. And I think there was another author, I think there was a certain plot that she used in her book that the person who didn't like the book was talking about like a completely different plot. So you could just tell, all you had to do was look at the book description and you knew this person had reviewed the wrong book. It's probably rare, it probably doesn't often happen, but it does happen sometimes. And the other thing to consider is that maybe, like, a lot of times authors will get stuff like, and especially if you're an independent author, you'll get stuff like, this book was poorly edited, it needs an editor, and all this stuff. Well, sometimes the person reviewing the book doesn't really know the rules of grammar, and they may be thinking that they're correct, whereas they're not. So when they're saying it's poorly edited, it could actually be that the book is correctly edited, and that this person doesn't realize, what the actual rules are. So I'll just, like from another video, I was talking about like the use of commas, like I said in that one, and I'll just use this as an example because this had earned me like a 1 or 2 star review in the past. I would put, I went to the store, period. I bought bread, period. Okay, because that's how you're supposed to do it. Well, this person thought I should say, I went to the store, comma, I bought bread. And because of that, I got dinged for not having my books correctly edited. But the fact was, I did. So sometimes stuff like that happens. And another thing to consider is that the person is not, like, they're really not a fan of the genre that you're writing. So when they're reading your book, they're reading it through the lens of whatever genre they do like. And because it's not the genre that you're writing, they have different expectations. And when you don't meet those expectations, they're going to naturally hate your book because you didn't live up to what they wanted. And I'm going to give, this is a random example. Like there are some, once in a while you come across an author who says that they're going to write a romance. And they're going to write the romance where someone, like one of the couple dies, right? The hero or the heroine are going to die at the end. Or they're going to get a divorce. But they're going to be better off because they were in love during the course of the story. This is not a rule for romance. The rule for romance is that the couple ends up together and they end up happy. You have to have those two things. You do not kill off any of these main characters, right? So if someone were to write that kind of book, like where someone dies or they get a divorce, if someone were to write that and they would end, and that's how it ends, and then they put it out there and they publish it and they put it under romance, they are going to get a lot of 1 and 2 star reviews because they are not meeting the expectations for that genre. So I would just wonder, well, not only do you have to be careful where you're putting your books, make sure the genre fits, what the expectations are, but you also have to wonder if the person who picks up your book, they're probably not thinking, well, gee, I really prefer this kind of book. People don't think that. They just think maybe it sounds interesting, and then they find out maybe it's really not their cup of tea. And I would say, that's fair enough. It's not their cup of tea. So I would say on both ends, kind of watch where you're placing your books when you're putting them in categories, because you do want to try to get more positive reviews, but you can do that better when you meet their expectations for that certain genre. But at the other time, even if you do, you're going to find someone, maybe this person loves science fiction, Maybe this person loves fantasy, and maybe they read your book and they're like, huh, you know, there weren't the science fiction or fantasy elements I was looking for in this story. Well, no, because it's a romance, and you know, that wasn't the whole point. So sometimes you'll get a bad review for that. And also, even within the genre itself, like let's say you do target the right genre. Well, these genres are umbrellas, right? Like the romance, it's a pretty big umbrella, and then you get divided out from there. I mean, you have like contemporary, historical, and then from there you'll get like, okay, from historical, let's say, then you can get your Regency or historical Westerns, your 20th century American, your Viking, your Scotland. I mean, so it just keeps breaking down. And even from there, then you're looking at whether or not there are no sex scenes in it, or are there maybe like 1 or 2 sex scenes in it, or is this like pretty much like heavy duty on the sex scenes? So you have all that. You have that whole gambit that you're running through with even within that one genre. And if that particular person picking up your book, even if they are, let's say, a romance reader, let's say they read the sex and they're like, oh my gosh, no way, I hated this, 1 star. I've gotten reviews like that. And actually, I like those reviews because that lets other people know when they're reading those reviews, they're like, ooh, this has sex in it. I don't want to read this book, because I'd rather have those people not read my books because that's not what they want. So I'm glad when I get reviews like that, because then that lets people know, and then people are like, you know, I kind of want to read like a sexier kind of read. And that sounds like something I want to do. So then they go ahead and they want to buy the book. So sometimes there's reviews, whether, you know, even if it's 1 or 2 stars, sometimes they do work in your favor. And I would say the last thing I would say is just don't be afraid of getting 1 or 2 star reviews. Don't be afraid of getting the 3-star reviews. I know, like most people, you know, I know we want to get the 4 and 5-star reviews, of course, because we want people to like our work, and it helps to have that. It boosts you in the algorithms and kind of makes you look more appealing. You have an easier time getting ads. That's all true. But I think when people, like, when they're looking at your page and they see, you know, well, you have, you know, the 4 and 5-star reviews, but they also see, well, I got the 1 and 2-star reviews over here and some 3 stars. I think that gives more legitimacy, maybe. Like, you have a broader reach. You reached enough people where you have, like, some people who love your work, some people who hate your work, and some people are just kind of indifferent. And if it makes you feel better, because I did this early on just to make myself feel better, I would look at, my recommendation is if your reviews are bothering you, I would look at one of your favorite books, maybe a couple of your favorite books of all time. And I want you, because these are your favorite books, but then I want you to take a look at those 1 and 2-star reviews. And I want you to ask yourself, does this change the way I feel about these books that I love? Just because these people hated it, does that mean I now hate it? Do I agree with them? Because at the end of the day, people have a wide range of opinions. And we all have different interests and stuff. So even though a book appeals to one person, it's not going to appeal to another. And I think taking a look at those popular books that we just love, I think that helps us put things in perspective. And that is it for this post. Thanks.